Hi guys, at the end of this video, you will learn how to cook bitter leaf soup like a professional. You will learn how to cook ONUGBU soup like an old woman with a touch of slay queen. Look at that. Look at the bitter leaf soup, guys. I'll be sharing the tips, the tricks, and the hacks to cook a delicious ONUGBU soup. If you are a returning subscriber, keep being amazing. If you are new here, you are welcome. Let's start with the cocoyam. It is not every cocoyam you will use as a thickener. I will make a video about that on the different types of cocoyam and their uses. This particular cocoyam is the best. Once you use the one that is not meant as ori, as we would call it, then you will ruin your soup. When you get to the market to buy this, always ask, especially if you are buying from the open market. Ask for the cocoyam to be used as thickener. I simply washed this until the water was clear. You don't want to cook sand and dust in your pot, okay? I washed twice until the water was clear. If you are using the big cocoyam, make sure you slice them into chunks so that they will be done quickly. I added water and put this on fire to start cooking. Next was the bitter leaf. Your choice of bitter leaf and the preparation will go a long way to determine the success of your bitter leaf soup. Look at that. I refrigerated this. If you want to remove the bitterness, it is good to refrigerate. You can also cook as well. Look at that. The bitterness have reduced to a great extent at this time. I will simply wash this and put it in the pot to boil. Once it boils, I will remove the water and put in a cool water, getting ready to be cooked. When you are choosing your bitter leaf, make sure you pick soft ones. There are some that are black. Those black ones might have stayed with the owner for some time and are not fresh. Make sure you go for the fresh ones just like so. You can see this. If it is long, you can cut them to chunks according to your taste. Put that on fire to cook and move to the cocoyam. Let's check if the cocoyam is done now. We'll simply select and press to know if this is soft. Look at that. It is now soft. When you press, it should be soft. Make sure you pick as many as you can, because when one is done, doesn't mean that all of them are done. Next, I checked on the bitter leaf. Once it starts to boil, look at the water. The clear water has now changed. Change the water and set that aside. Next, we move to the cocoyam. If the cocoyam was done properly, the back should come off easily. Look at that. Simply peel one after the other. If there are spoiled ones, make sure you remove them at this moment so that they don't ruin your soup. Once that was done, I pounded with my mortar and pestle. If you have a food processor, you can use it at this moment. Next is to introduce the ingredients. Once the food prep is ready, the food is half done. Look at the bitter leaf now. I simply changed the water. I added cool water. Look at the cocoyam, well pounded. I'll be using habanero pepper, stock cubes, salt. I will just use salt to taste. This is the ogiri. The ogiri is simply fermented oil seeds. This could be sesame seeds, melon, or castor oil seeds. I used dried fish, smoked fish, and some stock fish. I used crayfish. Look at the protein I'll be using. This is simply beef. Here is the crayfish I'll be using. And this is the oil. The oil you use in your bitter leaf soup will go a long way too to determine the success of your soup. Make sure the oil you are using does not have taste. It does not smell. This is very important. So now let's start cooking. I simply added water into a big pot and set that to cook. I pounded my habanero pepper. If you are blending, you can blend your pepper and crayfish together and set that aside. For the crayfish, I simply washed thoroughly and pounded together with the peppers. Look at that. Would you believe this was not pounded? Next was the ogiri. Look at this. This is so fresh. Make sure the one you are using is not black. Those ones that are black can change your soup and it won't give it that unique taste. Once I pounded that, I set that aside. My water is now boiling. I added all my protein. I added the meat, the dried fish, the stock fish, and the smoked fish together. If your protein is strong, you will have to cook before adding your stock fish and dry fish and smoked fish if you are using this. Next, I added my stock. This was the water I used to boil my meat. I simply added that to the pot. I simply stirred to combine all the ingredients together and added my seasoning cubes. The seasoning cubes going in now. Next was salt. When you are adding salt, remember you've added the stock. Be careful so that you won't ruin this delicious soup. This is the salt. I covered and allowed this to cook properly. Yes, because the stockfish need to cook very well. I added 3 cooking spoons of red oil. Look at the oil. Be careful about the kind of oil you use for your bitter leaf soup. This will go a long way to make a delicious meal. Make sure it does not have taste. It does not have smell, as I mentioned earlier. I allowed this to cook. Look at the color now. I added my pepper, my ogiri, and the crayfish. If you have blended your own, add everything now. Then add your ogiri. I normally pound the ogiri because sometimes you will still see some chunks, little chunks in the ogiri. So I had to pound it very well to make everything soft. Look at the mortar I used. I didn't wash it. You don't need to wash it. I'll be pounding my cocoyam right here before adding this cocoyam into the pot. It will help to clean up every obstacle still remaining in the mortar. Nothing should waste, you know. Once I'm done with this, the pot should be ready. I added my cocoyam into the pot. Look at the color now. Look at the cocoyam. I added this into the pot in chunks. This is the second batch going in now. Use the spoon to cut them into smaller chunks. Look at it, into smaller chunks, and allow this to cook. I didn't use all the cocoyam I prepared for this. If this didn't thicken the soup, then there will be need to add more. When you add this, simply cover the pot and allow to cook. Once the cocoyam is almost done, this is when you should add the bitter leaf. Okay? So that they will be done at the same time. Add the bitter leaf when the cocoyam is almost disappearing. Once the cocoyam has vanished, the soup should be thickened at this time. So I added the bitter leaf and allowed to cook. Look at some of the cocoyam still remaining in the pot. This will help to thicken it more to my taste. So I stirred to combine everything together. It is very important to check for salt at this moment. If there is need for salt, add salt now. Cover and allow this to cook properly. Once everything has disappeared, the food is done. The bitter leaf is on point, the cocoyam on point, the red oil is on point. What of the ogiri? It is superb. These are the main ingredients that will give you a delicious bitter leaf soup. Make sure you check on all these 4 to make a perfect bitter leaf soup like an old woman with a touch of slay queen. With this, you will cook your bitter leaf soup like a professional. Look at the thickness. It is what I want. Look at the soup, guys. Would you be making this soup? Would you be making this soup with my recipe? When you do, let me know how it goes. This was delicious. Anyone that tasted it wanted more. You also will want more when you try this. When you do, let me know how it goes. I will see you in my next one. Thanks for watching, guys. Please like, share with your friends and groups so that they too will cook ONUGBU soup like professionals. If you haven't subscribed, consider doing that. I will see you in my next one. Cheers to your success. Keep being amazing. Bye-bye.